So today we're doing a super simple video. Basically, we're going to be talking about psychology tricks that I use, other people use. They're very basic, and I've noticed that unfortunately a lot of people don't know them, and I strongly believe that they're super basic. I'm going to go through a list of psychology tricks that you should already know, and if you don't, then that's what this video is for. So the first one that I use, especially on men, is where I basically pretend to be a bad liar. I tell them a story that I just made up about, my friend, she put me on spot, asked me this question, and I lied to her, and because I lied to her, my hands start shaking. Every time I lie, my hands start shaking. It's terrible. I always have to hide them. That way he thinks that if you were to ever lie to him, your hands would start shaking when really it doesn't actually happen. And that way when you do have to lie, it actually becomes super effective. The next one is that people hate giving out information, but they love correcting people. As in, if you give somebody incorrect information, right away they'll want to correct you. So for example, I remember I wanted to create a complaint about a manager there, and the first person that picked up the phone, they refused to give me their name. So I called the next day, and another person, like a different person, answered the phone, and I said, "Hey, is John still the manager there?" And they corrected me and told me, "No, it's actually," and then they told me the first name and last name of the manager, and that way I was able to create a complaint. I'm assuming that when you ask, "Hey, who's the manager there?" like what's their name and last name, they kind of know, like, oh, they might be in trouble, maybe I should back them up, or they just don't want to give out information. But as you can tell, like once you give out the wrong information, usually people will want to correct you. So I remember also using this on a date. When I got to the date, I thought I saw him driving a Honda, but on Instagram he had like a BMW and everything. So I was a bit confused. After the date, of course, I asked him, I was like, "Hey, is that your Honda over there?" And he corrected me and said, "No, the BMW over there, that's my car." So again, it's a lot easier to just ask, "Hey, is that yours?" and then have them correct you, as compared to saying, "Hey, I thought you drive a BMW. Like, why do you have a BMW on your Instagram?" The next trick is to basically say the person's name. So let's pretend you're talking to John. Whatever it is that you're talking about, find a way to insert his name into your sentences. Something about saying people's names just makes them feel more attracted, more comfortable with you, and we're self-absorbed. Like, we love hearing our name, and it just catches our attention. Like, if you notice that I'm not listening and then all of a sudden you say my name, you're gonna catch my attention, and trust me, I'm gonna listen to everything you have to say. The next trick is to play dumb, because playing dumb gets you a lot, and it makes your life easier. But don't play too dumb. You have to know when you're crossing the line. I remember my grandma telling me, like, when it comes to work, never learn how to do everything, because then they'll actually want you to do everything. There's certain things where you have to pretend like you don't know how to do them, and make other people to just do the work, because it's gonna make your life easier. So definitely don't try to be over the top with your work, because then you'll end up realizing that you're doing more work, meanwhile other people are taking advantage of you and just sitting back. You know what I mean? And sometimes you can also use this on men. Actually, all the time you should use this on men, because if you know how to play dumb where it's not too dramatic, men will want to help you more. For example, yeah, you might know how to change a tire, and kind of sometimes you do have to know how, because if you don't have a man in your life right now and you're gonna be in that situation, it's probably good to know. But just because you know doesn't mean that you have to do it. Sometimes it's nice to play dumb and allow another man to do it for you. Why are you doing that? Like, let's pretend it's literally winter, -40. If some guy's willing to do it for you, why not play dumb? And just let him do it and make your life easier. The next one is, if you realize that someone will just not stop talking or let you get your word in, the best way to basically get your word in without interrupting them is to drop something. So you can drop anything: a pencil, pen, keys, anything that's going to make a sound so they know that you dropped something. You'll realize that when you drop something, they go quiet. As you pick it up, you'll be able to start talking, and you'll realize that the attention is finally back on you. The next one is, people become what you call them. So if you start calling a person evil, a liar, I don't know, a monster, they're going to become that. But let's pretend you're going on a date with a guy and you want him to become a certain type. Let's pretend you like gentlemen. So if you start complimenting him right away on the fact that he's a gentleman and how you love it, and maybe even start bringing up the fact that, oh, like, you're so, like, manly, you're so strong and stuff like that, he's going to become that. Whatever it is that you compliment the man on, that's what he's going to become. Now, I use the same trick on my friend, where before she ever meets somebody new in my friend group, she's usually very quiet, very antisocial, and she has this resting bee face where it makes people intimidated. So I remember using this on her, and I told her, listen, I showed a picture of you before they even met you, and they said that you're so beautiful and you have such a friendly look to you and they can't wait to meet you. And surprisingly, when I actually brought her to my friends, she was super friendly, super talkative, like she was very smiley, which she wasn't like that before. So I'm telling you, this really does work. The next one is, if you want a person to like you, listen carefully to their tone and their pace. If you can match your tone and pace to theirs, they're gonna feel a connection between you two. I don't know why it works on me, it works on everybody, but there's something about a person that matches your speaking style that simply makes you want to trust them more. The next one that I definitely use is that when somebody has a conversation that I simply have no interest in and I don't want to continue it, instead of being rude and just telling them, listen, I don't want to talk about this, I will literally look at something, kind of far away and just have a very concentrated look on my face. You'll realize that the person with you will also want to look, and then you can start, changing the subject. Like, what, you don't see that? Oh my gosh. Okay, now you're not going to see it. The person left. And then usually they forget. Now, it depends on how long you do it and how long you've been looking at that direction, how long you've also tried to convince them that there was something in that direction, but usually this really works for me. The next one is to be silent when somebody talks. If you don't want to talk, simply just be silent, and people will naturally just want to fill in that awkwardness and they'll continue talking and talking and talking. A lot of people use this, especially like in investigations, for example, when someone's trying to ask you a lot of questions. Let's pretend the police is investigating you. They'll usually use silence to get you to open up and start saying things that you don't want to say. I also remember back in university, my professor would just ask a question and go silent and just wait until somebody raises their hand. And because it's so awkward when he gets silent, people will naturally just give some kind of answer to just break the awkwardness. This works perfectly until somebody is actually comfortable with silence. Now, because I know this trick, and I've definitely had people use this on me, especially back in work, back in years ago when my boss would do this a lot. He would purposely go silent, and I knew that he was doing it on purpose, so I would just go silent with him and just stare him down. Next one is, if a guy starts asking you, hey, it's Valentine's Day soon, give me a list of things you want and I'll decide from there what I'm gonna get you. Whatever that you want the most, list those 2 items first and last. When listing things to someone, they are most likely to remember the first and last item on that list. Next one, and I'm sure that everyone already knows this, but I'm gonna add it anyway. When you want someone to like you, simply just ask them to do a small favor that they're most likely going to say yes to. Because when we do something for somebody, our brain is gonna ask us, why are we doing this? And then you're gonna tell yourself, well, probably because I like this person, why else would I do this? And they simply will end up liking you more. Next one is to mirror the person's body language. This will make them feel more positive towards you, and it'll make them feel as if they have more common things with you, even if you don't. So for example, if you start seeing that they're basically kneeling more back with their chair, do it as well. But not right away. Maybe kind of wait a little and then do it. If you start seeing that they're, crossing their arms, so do it as well. If you start seeing that, I don't know, they're putting their hand on the table, so do it as well. There's something about it that just makes the person feel as if you guys have something in common as you guys continue the conversation. But you never want to make it way too obvious, because they might feel basically put off, like they might be able to tell that you're doing it on purpose. So you do want to make it look more like it was just naturally happening. The next trick to make people like you more is to basically make someone feel their absolute best when they're around you. You know how there's certain people out there that when you're with them, you just feel excited, you feel so happy, you just feel like you're the best human being on the planet Earth. The reason why you probably feel this way is because they probably let you talk a lot about yourself. And when you do talk about yourself or you say certain things, they either agree with you, they agree with how you're feeling, or they start praising you. And when you do these things, it's just the way you feel. The way they make you feel is what makes you want them more or want to be around them more. So this works on men especially. The more you just let him talk about himself and you start acting like you're interested and praising him and agreeing with his emotions, he's gonna feel like he's the absolute best. And if he feels like he's the absolute best with you, he's just simply, his brain is gonna convince him that he's in love with you. If you can make him love the feeling of your presence, honey, you basically own him now. The next trick to make a person fall in love with you is to be around them more. people fall in love faster with the people they spend most of their time with. And I'm not saying that, like, this is in person what I'm talking about. This is not going to work over text. So when people start teaching you, oh, you have to play hot and cold over text, I do agree, because I do think that when it's a lot, like when you just talk a lot on text, I don't know, even for me, like I just can't stand that person. I don't even want to see them anymore. The faster you get to in person and the more that you guys hang out in person, the more the person will fall in love. And this is perfect for me because I absolutely hate being on my phone, especially I hate texting. So playing hot and cold over text is not even something I do on purpose. It's something that just comes naturally. And when I'm with that person in person, I just play really hot. Like they become more confused because they're like, what? Like when you're with me in person, you're so like into me and everything, and then over text you barely answer. You never even message me first. And it's not even a game that I purposely play. I just hate being on my phone, and I realize that the more I text a guy, the more I become like disinterested. I don't know why. I think it's just me though. Another trick to make a guy think about you more sexually is if you're on FaceTime with him, what you can do is that you guys talk, then you tell him, listen, I need to quickly change. You put the phone down on the bed, and then you throw shirts over the phone. Like when he sees the camera, he just sees the shirt being thrown, and then he sees the pants being thrown. And I don't know, you can even throw your socks, I don't care. But basically, this will get his brain to think about you more, like being naked and stuff. So the next one, and this one's not a very innocent one, but it's definitely something that my friend used. She's really into married men because she sees them as an easy target to get. You know how it is, when you have a married man, it's easier to get into his wallet. So she would target those kind of men, and sometimes she wasn't very successful because sometimes they would have wives or girlfriends, and even if they did and the wife or girlfriend was near them, she would still try and see what, she'll see what the chances are that he will actually approach her. So this happened a few times where the girl, it actually only happened twice, but it was quite a good trick that she used. The girl will come up to her and she will be like, are you looking at my man? Like, why are you staring at him? And then she will be like, oh, I'm so sorry. He reminded me of my brother. He was killed in a car accident. And of course, this is gonna make the girl feel bad for saying that, and then she will just leave her alone. So, listen, this is actually kind of harsh, but it works, and you'll be surprised. There's a lot of people who use this trick. Next trick I used quite a lot, especially back in my early 20s, teens. I worked in a lot of workplaces that were very toxic, so in order to avoid workplace drama and to basically have people like you, what I did is just compliment people behind their back. This surprisingly really works, and when you don't feed into the drama and you don't talk bad about the person and even like try to basically see the good in them, like let's say somebody comes to you and starts giving you some gossip about another person, you listen to it, but in the end you kind of avoid the gossip and you kind of say good things about the person. It's like, yeah, but this and that. They don't even have anything against you. They can't even say that you said something bad behind somebody's back, and people will pass on the word that you've been complimenting others behind their back, surprisingly, and it just gets people to like you more. The next trick, and you can definitely use this on your partner, husband, boyfriend. Let's pretend you did something that annoyed him, bothered him, maybe pissed him off. Hopefully it's nothing serious because this probably wouldn't work. But if it's not that serious and maybe he went quiet on you, just wait a few minutes and then ask him some question that's easy for him to answer, something that he knows about. So let's pretend that he really likes cars. So you can ask him a question about a car, maybe ask him how a certain thing works or what a certain car part does, or basically how to fix something, and you'll start realizing that all of a sudden he starts blabbing and blabbing and blabbing about that topic, and he's simply going to be happy again. Like he's just going to forget everything and why he was even mad at you, why he was annoyed with you. He'll just completely forget it and you guys are back on good terms as it was before. The next one is to set expectations low and blow people's minds. This is one of my favorites. It's not really a psychology trick. It's something that it's fun. It's fun to do because when I'm with my friends, I definitely don't act the way that I act on these videos. I act more because, it's my friends, whatever, we're close, so I act more stupid. I don't act like I'm smart or anything, but it always blows their mind when, like, for example, I definitely, like, the way I act around my friends, you would not believe that I'm the type to go to university. You would not believe the type that I would do the jobs that I got without even having an education. Like, Simply, people get their mind blown by the things that I do because when I'm with them, I act so different, I act a little more stupid. I definitely set the expectations a lot lower that when they find out the jobs that I do and the knowledge that I have and the background that I have, that they get so surprised and like confused. And I did this, I remember that even when I was bigger, I never even told people that, I wanted to do a diet or do this and do that. When I actually went on the full like losing weight journey, I didn't say anything. Like I used to pretend like I was one of those girls who just loved junk food and was never going to give it up and was never going to exercise. And now people's minds are blown that I'm at the gym because nobody would have imagined that I was even the type to go to the gym. So basically what I'm saying is if you set the expectations low and then people see a complete different person and what you're capable of, it definitely blows their mind and it makes you even more attractive because it's kind of like you're a person that they can't predict. Like they don't really know you. They thought you were stupid, but really you're actually capable of doing things that they didn't think that you were actually capable of, basically. The next trick that I use a lot, especially with clients and men, is when I notice that they're shy, as they're speaking, what I would do is I would look at them and I would start nodding my head. Obviously not dramatically, you'll know as they're talking when to nod your head. Something about nodding your head just basically encourages them to keep talking. Next trick is that if you're in a group of people and somebody tells a joke and you guys are all laughing, the person, typically what we do is we will stare at the person that we like the most as they're laughing. So take a look at your crush, and if your crush is not even staring at you, let's pretend he's staring at some other girl, then girl, it's time for you to meet his dad. Next trick is to play up with a person's emotions. So basically, let's pretend, I don't know, your guy is in the basketball team and his coach isn't letting him play because he thinks that if he plays, like first off last game, he got injured with his knees or something. So he thinks if he plays again, something bad's going to happen to his knees. So the coach was like, you're not going to play this game. Only next game, we need to check up on your knees. And then your partner is getting mad about that. So you need to play along. Instead of telling him, listen, you're being childish, just chill, like talk to the coach after, or, just wait till the next game. Don't do that. Just play along with it. If he starts getting upset about it, simply just be like, wow, I can completely understand why he'd be upset. I can't believe he's not letting you play. Like, play along with his emotions. Whatever he's saying, agree with it. Like, let's say he's saying, oh, he's so annoying. Like, he constantly does this. He does this to others. Be like, I can't believe he does this to others. I can't believe he did this to you. Doesn't he understand how important it is to have you in this game? Trust me, it works. So the next one, and I use this a lot, is when I dealt with people that I work with, I used a lot of you're correct and you're right, like basically telling them, oh my gosh, you're so right, and yeah, you're right, it should be this way. When you say things like you're correct or you're right, there's something about it that makes the person feel like they're smart, and it's gonna make them soften up a lot more. So that's kind of good because also it keeps them listening because they're hoping to get more flattery out of you. The next one is something that I was taught to do when I used to do presentations, is that if somebody asks a very hard question or a question that I probably don't have the right answer to basically respond with, what a great question. So for example, somebody asks me a question, I don't know really the answer to it, but obviously I'm going to still try to blab and make it look like I know something. So they ask me the question, I respond with, what a great question. That person won't really listen to my answer because they're so busy being pleased with the fact that I praise them in front of everyone for asking a great question. The next one is a basic one that most of us were taught, during customer service and all that stuff, is that if a customer is mad at you, thank them for a trait that they have. So instead of saying, oh, I'm sorry that you had to wait, I'm sorry that I'm late, instead of saying, I'm sorry, tell them, thank you for your patience. Because customers are very less likely to get mad when you thank them for whatever trait they have, instead of when you shift the blame on yourself. When you shift the blame on yourself, it basically makes them want to argue with you more. But when you thank them for a certain trait, such as patience, it's a lot less likely that they're going to argue with you. Another good one is if somebody's arguing with you and you want to end it on good terms, instead of arguing back, start off with agreeing with whatever it is that they have to state. Make sure you say things like, you know what, you're right, or I understand how you feel. It really depends on your argument, but start off with trying to agree with whatever it is that they have to say. And then afterwards, as they calm down, you start basically stating your point of view. If you start off with agreeing with the person, that person will also want to agree with you. This always ends in a positive interaction. The next trick is that if you hand something to someone, they will take it. Now, it's even more fun when they're talking on the phone because when they're not distracted by a conversation or a phone call, 9 times out of 10 they will take it, but there's a chance that they're going to ask you, why'd you give this to me? But when they're on the phone, they're more likely to take whatever it is that you hand over to them. And I did this trick a lot at work, is that whenever I would receive like folders or whatever of work that I had to do, on the folders we have a deadline. So I would usually try to wait until somebody's on the phone that I know will be able to do that assignment. I would change the deadline to that day specifically, or at least give them one more day. And I would wait until they're on the phone. Once they're on the phone, I would just pass them the folder and I would clock out. Basically, leave work so they don't have any questions on why I gave them the folder. Usually, they'll end up finishing that folder or the assignment that was given by the deadline. And if they do ask me a question like, why did you pass me this folder? The boss just told me that I didn't even have to do it. I would let them know, oh, I'm so sorry, I got distracted. I accidentally gave it to you. Why didn't you tell me? And then, it helps me because less work for me. The next trick is that if you look happy or you act excited whenever you see someone, they're gonna eventually also be happy and excited when they see you. This is a great tactic, especially for people that you know don't like you. Try to just pretend to be happy or excited. It's gonna make them confused, they might question it, but just continue doing it and you'll end up realizing that eventually they're gonna be happy to see you or excited to see you. I remember I used this definitely so many times because I realized that it worked on somebody else that did it, and I was like, oh, I wonder if this is gonna work on me too. Where before, every time I'd walk into the office, everyone's quiet. We would have like those boring like good morning kind of phases, and then instead what I decided to do is that I was gonna go in and I was gonna act excited to see everyone. I was like, oh my gosh, good morning, how are you? How beautiful it is outside. Oh, I love your outfit. And I would do it, and it made them confused because it wasn't something I ever did. Nobody really questioned it, and then they got used to it because I kept doing it every day. And then it got to the point where before I even entered the office, they would get up and they would start acting excited and be like, oh my gosh, how are you? Good morning. Basically, they never did this before, but slowly you start realizing as you do it, they start doing it in return. I should also add, it's really good to be nice even to mean people, because it's really fun to see someone who was initially really angry all of a sudden soften up with you. I had this situation where, wow, this was years ago, where this guy was super in love with me and he already had a girlfriend by that time. That girlfriend knew about me and she was mad on the fact that he was in love with me, that she made a fake account just to DM me, and she started saying very, very rude things, like trying to put me down, trying to find ways to basically insult me. And I just didn't play onto it. Like, I just was super nice. I was like, oh, I'm so, like, I was just basically saying, hey, like, just having normal conversation with that person and just acting super nice. Like, I didn't like give any compliments or anything. I was just having a very chill, nice conversation, saying, oh, I don't know like what I did to upset you or make you this angry. I'm really sorry if I did anything. And then that person, which was his girlfriend, exposed herself. She's like, listen, I'm actually so sorry. Like, I was just mad because he still likes you and he won't stop creeping on you. And I'm really sorry that I messaged you this way. I see now that you're a really nice person. This was actually his girlfriend. Like, it was just so funny to see her soften up. She was like, maybe we can talk. Maybe we can go grab lunch on me. Like, she just changed from a person who literally tried to, like, belittle me and call me names to, like, oh, I'm so sorry. Let's be friends. I should have never talked to you this way. So always be nice, even to mean people. It is hilarious watching them go from being mad to just all of a sudden all soft and kind. The next trick is if you're in economy, let's pretend you're flying somewhere, you're in economy because your man can't afford first class, and somebody is hogging the armrest or starts talking too much to you and you just get tired of it, just grab that barf bag and trust me, they're gonna leave you alone, okay? As long as you just pretend like you're about to puke, they're gonna leave you alone. It works every time. The next trick, and I use this a lot on narcissists, especially the ones that I worked with as well as the one that I dated, with the last video that I made about seduce and scam. If I get tired of their actions and their personality and so on, without having to tell them directly, what I would do is tell them through a story in order for them to change. This is a great way to make them change their behavior. So for example, I would tell them a story about how some guy named Jonathan, who's some stupid annoying idiot, behaves in a certain manner. Then I would enter into that story the narcissist's personality and actions. Obviously, I wouldn't make it too obvious that I'm talking about them, but I would do it very kind of like I would twist the story so they kind of connect the dots. Then I would go on and talk about how this Jonathan person is frustrating, annoying, pathetic, and that narcissist who's listening to the story is gonna connect the dots and it's gonna kill his ego basically. Because no narcissist is able to listen to a story that a person has a very similar personality to his and it's considered frustrating or annoying or pathetic. Trust me, it's gonna change them up real quick. The next trick is that, first off, when we eat, our brain, like, first off, we only eat when we're in a calm place, when everything's okay, when we're not in danger. Same thing goes towards animals. So whenever you're doing something that's gonna make you feel nervous, chew gum, eat food as you're doing it. So for example, maybe you're taking a driver's test, chew gum. Trust me, it's gonna make it a lot easier on you because your brain is literally gonna go into thinking, well, we can't be in danger because we're eating, and it's gonna calm you down. Next trick, and I should have used this earlier, is that if somebody's angry at you and you stay calm, they're probably going to get angrier, but at the end, you're going to make them feel ashamed at themselves, basically, for being angry. Because when one person's angry and the other person's calm, the angry person just simply looks crazy that they start doubting whether they should have actually been angry. Sometimes even your calmness will calm them down. So it's a great trick, and unfortunately, a lot of manipulators use this one. The next one is not to say or write the words I think or I believe. The reason why is basically because it makes you sound like you lack confidence. If you use these two words, it just simply sounds like you don't know if what you're saying or what you think is actually true. And other people are going to think the same way. They're going to think, okay, I should probably not listen to this person because they lack the confidence. They probably don't know what they're talking about. Which I should probably also add is that most people cannot tell the difference between brilliance and confidence. If you just give off the fact that you have confidence or you seem like you know what you're doing, people will naturally just rally around you and just assume you're some kind of leader that knows what they're doing. Now, this one is something that I heard and I don't know if it's true. So I'm just going to be honest with you, I have no clue. If somebody actually knows whether this works, please let me know. But this one is, if you work in customer service, put a mirror behind you. Customers will be nicer because nobody wants to see themselves being a jerk. That's actually very interesting, and I think I actually kind of want to try this and see if it actually plays out this way. The next one is, if you want to convince someone to do something or you want to convince people to let you do something, simply use the word because. If you can make a request and add the reason why, or give a command and add a reason why they should do it, people for some reason just tend to let you do it, or they'll do it for you. Like, it's weird that it works, because I've definitely done this a few times, and for some reason, when you just give a reason behind whatever it is that you're doing, people are just more likely to just let you do it. The next one is, if you want the person to be more attracted to you, just wear the color red. I don't know what it is about red, but red simply works. And there's definitely been studies about this where they show the exact same woman one wearing blue, the other one wearing red, and for some reason every man thought that the one in the red simply looks better. There is something about the color red, there is something about when people wear red, they just appear more attractive. It's hard to, remove your eyes from them. So if you want to be, a little more attractive on your date, wear red. The next one is, the more you repeat something, the less it has value. So if you tell your man that you love him literally like 10 times a day, he's not gonna care. Like, he's definitely not gonna care anymore about the fact that you love him. And he'll honestly just get sick of hearing it. But if you start telling him that you love him maybe only once a week or once a month, that word, I love you, is gonna have a much better impact, and he'll actually like hearing it a lot more, which will make him actually a lot more happy. Which I can also add, if you're somebody who talks way too much, like literally somebody who blabs and blabs and blabs, people will tend to pay less attention to whatever it is that you have to say, because you're literally always talking. But if you're somebody that doesn't talk a lot, once you speak, people will pay attention to every single word that you have to say. The next trick is, when you meet a narcissist, don't ever call them out on whatever it is that they are. Like, don't say you're a narcissist, you're a manipulator, you're a liar. Play along. Figure out what personality they're trying to give you. So, for example, I've had the bosses that wanted to be this tough boss or whatever, and then I had the friendly guys who just wanted to be friendly boss. So whatever personality he's trying to be, I play into it and I pretend like I believe it. this works like a charm. If you play into it, they honestly will even like you. They will like you even more. They will give you what you want. And even though they're trying to use you as a source of supply, when you play into their personality and just give them what they want, the tables turn and now he's your source of supply. The next one, and this is definitely something that worked on me, it's something that sadly works on everybody, is if you're basically there at somebody's hardest times, such as when they're sick, when they're weak, and you're helping them out, it will basically turn them into a puppy for you. After that, they're gonna do everything you want. At least it worked. It definitely worked on me, and I've noticed that it worked on other people, because I'll tell you what. I remember this one guy that I worked with, he told me how his wife all of a sudden turned religious, and she was really against religion. She was stuck in a hospital, and her husband was actually abroad for whatever reason. And while she was in the hospital, she was weak and she went through an accident. A group of religious people came to her and they were taking care of her. So what do you think actually happened after that? After she healed, she realized who was there for me when I was sick. The religious people. So she actually ended up converting to that religion, and she still is to this day in that religion. And he hates it because he's like a major atheist or whatever, so he just couldn't believe that they just completely converted her. But that's what happens when somebody's at their weakest point and when they're sick. People know that that's a great way to start to get whatever it is that they want out of that person. For those people, I'm 100% sure that it was the religion, because they just popped up out of nowhere. She didn't even know who they were. But, when they see a person has nobody, it's the perfect way to get them on their side. This also worked for me because I remember years ago I caught the flu. It was the very first time. And I'm telling you, I had nobody that would take care of me. Nobody that would help me. And I had to literally take a train all the way to my grandma's. And when my grandma was taking care of me, and I'm telling you, I couldn't walk, I couldn't get up. Like, she was making me food and everything. I literally looked at her like she was some kind of angel. Literally like she had some halo on top of her head. And still to this day, I'm basically her little puppy. I'm telling you, just a day ago, she messaged me and she said, "My phone isn't working." First thing I did right away was buy her a new phone. Like, I'm serious. Anything she asks for, I'm doing it. Same thing happened with a friend where I had a certain problem and she started calling all these places for me. I'm telling you, after that, I'm her puppy. Like, I'm not even a phone person, but every time that friend calls me or messages me, I promise you, I'm on that phone. I'm answering right away. Like, it's this thing that when you're weak or when you really need help at your desperate times and somebody helps you, you feel that need to always do everything for that person afterwards. Next one, and I feel like this trick is something that everyone should already learn, is that when you're on public transport, such as the train, and you don't want people to sit with you, the best thing to do is to smile at them and to start patting the seat next to you. Chances of them coming to you is slim to none because they're going to think you're crazy. Or nowadays, since we have corona, you can start coughing and they're just not going to want to sit with you because they're going to think maybe you have corona. The next one is, if you want to ask someone something and you want them to agree or you want them to do something, simply as you talk, start nodding your head a little bit. They're going to start agreeing to do whatever it is that you want or agreeing with whatever it is that you're stating. I don't know why this even works, but I've definitely tried this a few times and I do realize that it does work. And I feel like even people who know this tactic still fall for it for some reason. The next one is, if you have trouble motivating yourself or to learn a new skill, tell yourself that you're going to sit on it only for 5 minutes. So for example, if you need to, you have a history test coming up, convince yourself that you're basically going to only sit on it for 5 minutes. When you sit on it for 5 minutes, this is most likely you're going to sit on it for much longer. Once you already start, you kind of want to get to the finish already. So you're actually going to study properly. Same thing, you can tell yourself, you know what, I have some dishes, I'm going to spend on it like 5 minutes. You start doing the dishes and you'll end up realizing that it goes way past 5 minutes and your whole kitchen is clean because you started, carrying on with other things as well. So this usually works, and it's definitely something that I do when I feel unmotivated. Next one is, if someone is talking or they're preoccupied, you can hold out your hand and they'll give you whatever it is that they're holding. So this is definitely something that I used on my father. Whenever he would talk to his friends, I would go up to him as a child and hold out my hand while he's holding his, phone. And usually he'd give me his phone and then I would start playing games with it, which is usually something he didn't like to give me because I would play games all day on the phone. But that worked. And you can try this also when your man's holding his wallet. Let me know if that works. Next one is, if you're walking through a crowd and you don't make eye contact with people, okay? You make eye contact with the place that you're trying to get to, people will naturally just move out of your way and let you go. down whatever path it is that you want to go to. Next one, and this one is a great way to know if a person wants to talk to you. If you're at a party and you're approaching, I don't know, two people who are already talking and you start talking to them, but you notice that their feet are not pointing at you, this usually means that they want you to leave them alone, so leave them alone, okay? Next is if you make the biggest smile you can, you will automatically feel happier. Why this happens, I don't know. I guess maybe it tricks your brain into thinking that you're happy, but definitely if you force a smile right now and you just make the biggest smile you can, you will naturally feel like you're happier. Another trick that I used when I was younger was when I basically knew that my mom wouldn't let me do something, I would wait until she's on the phone. So for example, if I knew that my mom wouldn't let me go out during that day or whatever, because I knew that we had to, I don't know, make some food or whatever, I would wait until she's on the phone, then I would ask her for permission to go out with a friend, and usually she would always just nod. Like, she would give me that nod as a yes. And then that's how I always got the stuff that I wanted as a kid. The next one is don't tell a person, could you, and then your request. Instead, you should say please and then request. So for example, you're working in an office and you want Jonathan to call some annoying customer that you don't want to deal with. So you go to Jonathan and you say, Jonathan, please call Patricia at 12. Okay, instead of saying, Jonathan, could you please call Patricia? Because when you add the word could you, it gives him a way to say no. Like, he can basically respond with no or shift the job back to you. If you just say, Jonathan, please call Patricia by 12, you're already commanding him in a nice way, and it's kind of harder for him to say no. Now, the last one is if you think someone is staring at you or checking you out, but you're not 100% sure, a great way to know is to, first off, yawn. If somebody is looking at you and you're yawning, most likely they're gonna yawn too. Everyone kind of does it. Another one could be maybe you're at a bar and you think a guy's checking you out. What you can do is look at your friend and start like showing her your watch or even pointing at your watch. If he's looking at you or some person is looking at you, what they're gonna do is either they're gonna look at their own watch and check the time, or they're gonna pull out their phone and check the time. Which I guess I'll also add 4 sentences that people say to make you self-doubt, insecure. So the first one would be, I just want you to know I personally have no problem with you being at this party. Another one could be, I don't care what everyone says. I think you're pretty cool. Another one could be, hey, you're actually a fun person. I never did believe the rumors, you know. And a favorite one for women is, my side guy was right about you. Anyway, so that's it for today. Thank you all for listening. If there's anything that you want me to add on, fix, talk about, definitely let me know. And yeah, love you all.